Hey everybody, today is December 8th, so we'll be looking at December 7th MTG stocks. As you can see, there's not any really big price increases, but there are a lot of price decreases. We won't be going over them too much because this is the secret layer kind of stuff. We looked at some of the ones that I like. The Goblin set was pretty cool, but I guess not like cool enough for me to buy. If it was like $10, I would have maybe got it, but I understand why kinda they're making it so expensive. I prefer if they're much cheaper, but what can you do? Um, so we'll be looking at Rhonas the Indomitable first, since he's the highest price increase this time by like $1. He costs 2 colorless and a green. He is a legendary creature god. He has Death Touch, Indestructible, and he's a 5/5. However, he can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. And then he has a mana dump ability where you can pay 2 and a green, and another target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. So this guy is pretty good for any kind of deck that has green in it, at least if you're creature based, which maybe not all green decks, but a lot of green decks I'd say are creature based. At least in EDH, casual EDH. I don't know about competitive, but anyways, I like this card a lot. Having that mana dump on him is great. Getting him to have his ability to be able to block or attack probably isn't that bad, really, especially if you plan around him a little bit. But even then, with the pumpable ability, you kind of make it like a trick. Even you can, as long as you have 3 mana open and another creature that has, I guess, 2 power at least, you can use him at that point to block. So if you have a creature out and they're like, okay, well I'm going to attack you, then you can pay 3 mana and then give another creature +2, and then make him block with his Indestructible and Death Touch, and he becomes a problem. Pretty nice card. What's kind of interesting about him is he probably was spiked up yesterday too, but we're gonna go and look at this. So he has like a weird trend here, and then this is probably more around standard. And I'm thinking he rotated out of standard. I forget when standard rotated. I think it was the War of the Spark in 20. I think it's in 20 almost. But then he kind of like is spiking back up. It's probably either modern play or something. Not too sure on that, but pretty interesting to see him go up that much recently. And anyways, we'll go to our next card, which this is a reserves list card. So if you look here, we can see that it's only 5%, but that increases it by $20. So $374 for reserve list sounds about right? Dylan Valley land. Tap or sacrifice one of your creatures in exchange for a number of life points equal to its toughness. That's a very cryptic way to say it. Note this ability may be used after blocking has been declared. So, if this is a battle trick, and some people may or may not know this, but what it is, and it's not just this card. It's any card that lets you sacrifice at least at a instant speed. So basically, if you block with a creature, and then you sacrifice it, what happens is that unless they have trample or something, that attacker is still considered block. So if they come at you with a 10/10 that doesn't have trample, and you have a 1/1, you can block with that 1/1 and then sacrifice it off, and still get the benefit of the block and whatever your sacrifice benefit is. So like in this one, you would not take the 10 damage, and then in addition, you would gain 1 life because it's equal to its toughness. So if you didn't know that, there you go. So I mean, this one's pretty good actually. If it allowed you to tap for a colorless color, it's probably would be insane. Great for sacrifice decks like Corvold or anything like that. So I guess I understand why it's $300. I wish I wasn't, but I understand, I guess. Let's see. Also like how the spooky skeleton is just kind of blended in right there. I don't know if at first second, like I guess you don't really notice it, and then when you're like because it's just like all the colors are kind of like muted together a little bit, but I still don't quite understand why there is a spooky skeleton in there. But well, I guess because you sacrifice a creature or something. I'll take it. I guess we'll go with it. We go to our next one. This is Fairy Macabre. It's 1 colorless black creature, fairy rogue. He has flying, She has flying and is a 2/2. This is a really cool effect, though. You can discard her and exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. So it says 2 target cards from graveyards, so I assume that means that you can, like an EDH, if you have 2 opponents and they both have really problematic creatures or something, you can exile both of those, and one in his and one in the other player's. So that's kind of nice. I think having like a instant discard effect where assuming that your deck can work around this even better, or if you have if you discard a card, do something, that's really nice. Graveyard hate is always good to usually keep in mind. The overall thing of it is pretty good. I like the kind of art on this because I don't know if all the fairies in Magic kind of have this, but it kind of looks like little insect legs here, which is kind of neat. And then it's like I like the artwork overall. Pretty nice. Let's see. This is going to be our commander for the day. This is Selenia the Dark Angel. It's a legendary creature angel. This has flying and a 3/3. I didn't say the mana cost, it is 3 colorless, white, black. I don't know if I said that. But, and its other ability, which is the main thing, is pay 2 life, return Selenia Dark Angel to its owner's hand. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, this thing's garbage. And then I saw that its price point was like $350, and I'm like, okay, well, there has to be something about this card for it to be even that high, which that's not like expensive per se. It's just for this card, it seemed more expensive than it should have been. And what's interesting about this card is, so it says pay 2 life, return it to your hand. Since it doesn't say, since paying the life is a cost, you can pay this as much as you want. So what would happen is you pay 2 life, and then on the stack, so you have pay 2 life and that's already gone. You've already paid that cost. And then on the stack, you have return her to your hand. But then if you want to, you can pay 2 life again and then put on the stack, return her to your hand, and just keep doing that. And so what that does for you is you can basically make your life go down from 40 to 2 if you really wanted to. You can't, well, no, you can actually make your life go to 0. That's true. So as long as you have the life, I'm pretty sure you can pay it, but you can't go under that. So you can't, like, if you reach like 1 health, you can't pay 2 health because you don't have any health remaining. So there may be a rule actually where you can't pay life if it kills you. I'm not sure on that one. I think you can, but not sure. But you're like, okay, well, that's kind of a neat effect, sorta. But what can that do for you? And there is a bunch of cards that help her. And kind of for our random card of the week, it will be Repay the Kind. Is kind of will explain how she can sort of help, or how she can be used. This costs 5 colors and 2 black, which is kind of expensive, but sorcery, speed, each player's life total becomes the lowest life total among all players. So of course that means that you can do probably some really dumb stuff with it. You can, I'm pretty sure you can get your health to 0. I'm pretty sure there are cards that are like, cards that basically say you don't lose the game, and if your health is at 0, and you play Repay in Kind, then everybody's health becomes 0 or negative if your health is negative, and they all die, but you still live because you have something like, I don't know, Platinum Angel or whatever else. So that's where this deck is very interesting with Selenia and these kind of cards that help her. So it's kind of funny to think like, oh, this card looks like garbage, but then when you have other cards that really play off that ability, you can do some pretty neat things. And so it'll be probably one of the next commander decks I'm going to be making because I'm pretty excited about it. Then we'll be going into the secret layer stuff, which today's is the Kaleidoscope. And what it basically has is it has 3 legendary creatures that all have Wooburg for their command colors. Or red, or white, blue, black, red, green. So all colors. So we'll kind of go over each one of these. So we have Reaper King. He costs 2 colorless or white, 2 colorless or blue, 2 colorless or black, 2 colorless or red, 2 colorless, or green. So basically, you could pay 10 colorless mana, or you can just play Wooburg, or sort of combination of that. And he's a legendary creature, artifact creature, Scarecrow. He's a 6/6, and other Scarecrow creatures you control get +1/+1. So he's basically a Scarecrow deck. But then his main ability is whenever another Scarecrow enters the battlefield under your control, destroy a target permanent. I always like the idea of this card because I'm like, ooh, Scarecrows. I like Scarecrows. Let's make a Scarecrow deck someday in my life. But then I saw someone actually play it, and when I realized what the ability was, I'm like, oh, I have no desire to make this because this is just very heavy control, I guess. If I was to ever make a Reaper King deck, I think I'd probably have to figure out something else for it, but it'd be pretty hard to do. But basically, you play him, and then you're gonna play Scarecrows and wipe your opponent's boards as much as you can. There's like a card, I think it's Rite of Replication, where you can copy him like 5 times, and since you have basically 6 Reaper Kings, they all come out, and then they basically destroy like I think 25 permanents once all said and done, and it becomes crazy. I think it actually makes 4 copies, not 5, but whatever. Regardless, disgusting. But the other problem is that it says destroy target permanent, so you can actually just start basically getting rid of people's lands, and it becomes like a mass land destruction deck, sorta. And no bueno to me, but I like the idea of a Scarecrow deck. I just wish the commander was not so that. Let's see. The next one is the Sliver Overlord. He is white, blue, black, red, and green. Legendary creature, Sliver Mutant. Who would have thought? And he's a 7/7 that has 2 abilities. The first ability is you can pay 3, search your library for a Sliver card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it basically lets you tutor out Slivers for 3. Crazy. Next ability is you can pay 3, gain control of target Sliver. May not seem as crazy, but I'm pretty sure you can do shenanigans with that. There's probably cards out there, and I'm pretty sure there are, that either give things like Changeling, or you can make all creatures a certain type. So basically, if you go the more control route with this card, you can basically just make people stuff Slivers and then take control of them. No bueno on that. But the other ability where you tutor out Slivers is pretty good. Like Slivers are pretty spooky. I think it's pretty easy to say. They start getting out of control real fast. And you have things like give all Slivers +1/+1, give all Slivers Elbow Strike, give all Slivers. I don't know if it has protection yet. They probably do, but there's one that's like give all Slivers Poison, and that one's spooky. But for a Sliver deck, you're gonna probably want the Sliver Overlord. And then the last one here is the Dragon. Costs 4 colorless, and then white, blue, black, red, green. He is a legendary creature dragon avatar. Yet again, who would have thought a dragon? He has 10/10, so he's a big boy. Or girl? I don't know. Eminence. As long as the Dragon is in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So, I mean, if you have this deck, all your dragons cost 1 less to cast, which, for dragons, that's kind of good because most of the dragons cost like a lot, 5, 6. You'll find some dragons that cost 4, but the other dragons are going to be like whelps or something like that, and they're not going to be that great. But anyways, then he has flying, of course. And whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. Then you may put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. Spooky. That is super spooky. So if you ever do get the Dragon out and no one kills it immediately, then you have 10 commander damage coming at somebody. And on top of that, you have... you don't even have to actually attack with him. If someone doesn't kill him that turn at instant speed, then as long as one of your dragons attacks, you still get to draw, I guess, at least 1 card, and then you get to put any card that's a permanent into the battlefield. So you have other big dragon, then becomes even spookier. So all these are fairly good commanders for their respective decks. So you basically have Scarecrow Tribal, Sliver Tribal, and Dragon Tribal. But I guess kind of the main thing about them all is the art, which kind of interesting because I noticed that these 3 artworks, because the other artworks that I've seen have kind of lined up a little bit in the sense of their background. So at least the other 2 that we saw, I noticed that some of the others weren't like that. Like I don't think the cats are goblin. The goblins might be, but I know the Seeing Visions one was just 4 different artworks. But these do not line up together, so you can't put them next to each other and make some sort of panorama, like the Dredge one that we saw. But overall, though, I do like the art quite a lot. I don't know how to explain it very well, but I like that they have like these purples and blues, and they just kind of like all meld together pretty well, and I think it pops out. And I think a lot of people probably agree with that. Some, maybe not all, but it's interesting, at least, to say the least. I think a panorama would have probably been kind of cool to do with these 3. It'd be like they're all kind of like on a battlefield or something, but I guess it also makes sense to kind of keep them in their own environment as well. So I think these are all appropriate environments for these. So I mean, it's either way on this. But we'll get away from those, and we will end off our night, as usual, with some random cards. So random card numero uno. Random card numero uno. Rock Basilisk. 4 colorless. Red, green, creature Basilisk, who would have thought. Whenever a blocks or becomes blocked by a non-wall creature, destroy that creature that's in combat. That's kind of interesting. It so I mean it's like, it's not Death Touch. It is, yeah, it's not Death Touch, but it is, as long as it does combat damage to something, or no, as long as it blocks or becomes blocked by a non-wall. So you don't even have to do damage, which is kind of interesting because Death Touch you have to do damage. So if something prevents that, well, if something reduces your damage by like, if something does like -4, so like on Death Touch, if someone did like -4, -0 on this guy, you want to do damage and the Death Touch trigger when it proc. But on this one, it just says when he becomes blocks or becomes blocked. So even if he has 0/5, he still destroys that creature at the end of the combat. So pretty cool. I mean, for a card back in the days, they didn't really have as much as this, I think. I don't think they had Death Touch back then or stuff like that. But I mean, it's nothing amazing, but I still kind of like the concept of it. Let's see here. And we'll do our random card number 2 for the night. Tribute to the Wild. 1 colorless, green, instant. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact or enchantment. Kind of interesting to have green do this, because it seems, having people sacrifice stuff seems more black to me. I could see this being a good Golgari card, like if this was black-green, because I feel like it would make more sense in that way, because black doesn't have any way to make you destroy enchantments. So you would have to have green for this. Oh, okay. They slightly delved into that in the Commander 2019. They made that one where people either choose an artifact, choose a creature or enchantment. So I guess this could be black now, since they kind of introduced having that option. Okay, yeah. I changed what I said. This should be a black card, because we need more destroy enchantments in black, probably. Red also has an enchantment, so Rakdos gets really, really bad on that. But regardless, it's an okay card. It forces your opponent, if they have like a big enchantment and that's all they got, and you can make them sacrifice it if it's indestructible or something like that. Pretty good. Very good for like the god cards. If they get out a god card first, they have nothing else on the field, make them sacrifice that. So it's not bad. It's more situational. You'd probably rather have Naturalize or something in your deck, but definitely not bad. Interesting. Just wish it was a black card. Anyways, we'll end off tonight here. Hope you all have a good one. I'll see you next time.